So my name is Jason Peacock. I'm the admissions officer for Denton ISD, and I'm going to talk a little bit about the application processes, most specifically with regards to the Apply Texas application. Now, to start off, one of the really important things for students to do is to look for the right college. So certainly by requesting information from any schools that you're considering, doing the research, visiting campus, meeting with academic representatives from the schools, and then learning all of the deadlines for admissions, financial aid, and scholarships before before you start applying is certainly something I advise. I actually have an entirely separate presentation that'll go more into detail on this. But hopefully at this point in time, particularly if you are seniors, you have kind of selected your top 3 to 5 schools that you do plan on applying to. Some common documents that students will need to send in to a university. I just wanted to cover these. So application is pretty self-explanatory, though I will go into some details about some of the application options you'll have based upon the schools you're applying to, as well as a more detailed overview of the Apply Texas application with some tips and tricks for students as they apply. Fee waivers, if applicable. Not all schools require an application fee be paid or a fee waiver documentation be submitted, but for my institution, UNT, and many other public schools, we do have an application fee. High school transcripts will often be required. Some schools may even require a junior year transcript, a midterm senior transcript, and a senior year transcript. It just depends. You'll always want to work with the schools you're applying to. SAT, ACT scores are a big question right now. There are some schools out there that are still requiring the SAT or ACT score for admissions to universities. For UNT, we are test optional, but we right now still require SAT, ACT scores for scholarship considerations, although we do hope to see some amendment in that as scores do become tougher and tougher to take. So always work with the schools to see what their score requirements might be for the coming year. Essays. Some schools will have recommended essays. Some schools will have required. The prompt for the essay is always very important. So I always encourage students, don't think you will always be able to use the same essay for multiple applications, even though there might be similar prompts. Some of the secondary school report will sometimes be asked for by schools if the school is not familiar with the school that you're coming from. Letters of recommendation are commonly requested. Some schools will require counselors to submit them. Some schools will require instructors in particular fields. So always check with the school you're applying to find out what the best recommendation on where letters should come from. Resumes may be submitted depending upon your degree program. You may even have a portfolio or audition component that you have to submit to for entry. So these are the few of the things that students will sometimes have to send in to complete an application. So let's talk about what those primary applications that are available out there. So students, there are actually 4 different types of applications that students have access to. There's the coalition application, which is the newest application. About 130 different schools are available on it, with a few more public schools than what's available on the common application, which is the much longer lasting shared application that's used by institutions. And then there is the Apply Texas application. The Apply Texas application is used by all 2- and 4-year public schools in Texas And a vast majority of the private schools in Texas are also on the Apply Texas. Now, some schools may have an institutional application that you'll come across. Sometimes these institutional applications are much shorter. But you'll always need to find out what school the preferred or the accepted applications are. And it's a little bit funny. Some schools will accept the Coalition, the Common, and the Apply Texas application. My institution, UNT, we only accept the Common and the Apply Texas. So determining what schools you're going to apply to may allow you to only have to fill out one application if they're commonly shared among all institutions. So definitely work with your institution and ask them questions on what might be the quickest application to submit to. But I do want to talk a little bit about the Apply Texas. I'm not going to give you a detailed overview of how to apply, but I do want to touch on important components in the application process and things to be aware of that might sometimes trip up students. So using the Apply Texas website, the first step would be to go to applytexas.org. The application, you'll need to first start a profile, which is down over on the kind of lower left-hand side to create your account. This will set up a profile that you'll be able to use to then log in to Apply Texas from that point on. So a few recommendations when you're completing your profile on Apply Texas. And this is going to be true throughout the entirety of the application. Every field that's marked with a red asterisk you will need to complete. This is a very persnickety system. And if you don't answer every question it expects you to answer and answer it in the format that it prefers, you may not be able to advance to the next page. So the nice thing is if you are ever missing anything or if there's ever anything that is obviously wrong to the system, it'll tell you exactly what is missing and what you and where you need to go to correct that issue. As you're filling out the profile, you're going to be asked if you were a U.S. citizen or not. Based upon how you answer this question, there will be an additional set of questions that may be created that students will have to answer to clarify their immigration status. This is also used to determine residency status for tuition purposes. When you fill it out, make sure that your email address is correct. It'll ask you to double verify, but also be sure that it's an email address that you check regularly. Very important information will be sent to students once they've applied to this primary email address. So it's important that students have access to it and check it regularly. On the profile section, the race, ethnicity, and gender inquiries have no bearing on admissions decisions and are solely used for admissions reporting purposes. And those are certainly optional. So students can either include or exclude answers to that. And when you save your profile, be sure you keep your Apply Texas user ID and password safe. So once you've established the profile, you'll be able to go back to the Apply Texas website and then enter in your username and password. There is the option to log in if you have issues. If you need to reset your password or need to learn your user ID again. So when you first log in to Apply Texas, you're going to see the dashboard system. And currently under the My Applications tab, if you have not yet applied for any schools, there would be no applications indicated. There's also a section for your essays and to update your profile if you need to do any of that. In order to begin the new application, you would click on the Start a New Blank Application page, and it would then allow you to choose whether you're applying for a 2-year school or for a 4-year school. For this demonstration, I, of course, selected a 4-year school. Whether you select 2 or 4-year school, you will then be asked what institution you are applying for. And this is a common application system, so you can apply for multiple schools using this application system, but you will need to submit a separate application um, for each institution you're applying to. It'll ask for the target university, and then it'll ask for the admissions type. If you are coming straight from high school, freshman US would be the appropriate type, unless you are here on a visa or you're a permanent pending student. There are some instances where students that are going to school in Denton ISD may still be required to apply as an international student, but that would not necessarily even impact your residency status. So do contact me if you think this might impact you. I'd be more than happy to help. So once you've selected the school and the type of application, you'll get information about the application deadline, the application fee if there is one, as well as you will be asked to select your first choice school and your second choice school. Now, for UNT, this is how we have all of our degree programs lined up. We have them lined up under various colleges and schools at North Texas. So it's a little confusing, and every school is going to be a little bit different, but this is an important reason why students research the schools that they are applying to so they can find out what college or school their degree program is in at each institution. So for this example, I said that I wanted to be a music student, and my second choice was I wanted to be, I think, a history student. So College of Music, of course, has the College of Music degrees for UNT. College of Liberal Arts and Social Sciences hosts our history program. So when you continue from there, you're then able to select your first choice major within your first college and your second choice major within your second choice college. You would select your major within music, and then you'd be able to choose one also as the history degree for liberal arts and sciences. Once you continue from there, again, knowing the major you were applying for and which college or school it's under that university is important. And again, you need to do this for each and every school. If you might be interested in doing public relations, which might be in the College of Business at Texas Tech. But if you're applying to UNT, our public relations program is under our journalism program. So knowing that will certainly make things easier. So once you have selected what majors you're applying to, you can then you'll be sent to this kind of menu page, which will show you all the pages you have to do, as well as the essay option that's available. So you would then click on application, and you would be brought to the bio info table. So this is where we're going to collect some additional information. The first thing we're going to ask for is the Social Security number. Now, students do not have to include your Social Security number when you apply, but it's something that I would highly advise students submit it on the application. If you don't, in most instances, UNT will have to get a copy of your Social Security card at some point in the future in order to add it to your file. But this is necessary if you're requesting financial aid. You will need to have that. Hold on one second. Sorry about this. My computer's having a couple of issues here. There we go. There we go. but we will need to get that Social Security card for financial aid purposes. So I always advise students, make sure you're providing the correct Social Security number. But if you feel comfortable, I would encourage you include it on the application. We will ask for a 4-year date of birth, 4-year digit year for date of birth. For your we do ask that you provide your preferred name on the application. Now, do be aware that some documentation that universities have to send specifically regarding to financial aid, we may be obliged to use your legal name. But for most other documentation, at least from my institution, let us know what you'd like to be called, and we'll be more than happy to include all your academic admissions related acceptance letters, et cetera, using your preferred name. Some info that you will be asked for will automatically be added to the biodemo profile. So be sure that everything is correct. Confirm again. For some students, you may need to fill out the affidavit of intent for residency, which you'll be able to find on that page to download, and you could then submit to UNT or to whatever school you're applying to be considered an in-state resident. Do read the instructions. It'll let you know if that might be necessary. Be sure to double check all addresses and phone numbers. When you're inputting this information, be sure you're including the student contact information and not the parent's information. When we forward out information, we are expecting the applicant to receive and review it. And then be sure to write down and remember your application ID. So this is kind of an overview of that page. When you continue on page 2, a couple of tips. One of the questions they ask is if you speak other languages fluently. This is kind of intended for students that speak a foreign language at home, not based upon the fact that you had 2 years of high school Spanish in school. Family AGI, we ask for an estimate of the family's adjusted gross income. This is not used for admissions, scholarships, or financial aid. It's simply used for reporting purposes. Eligibility for scholarships is all merit-based, and financial aid is need-based. So that would not be factor into those determinations. We ask that students know the number of people that live with you, including you, and when you're filling out it, you have to include one parent or guardian and their information. There has to be at least one additional parent or guardian on the application when it's submitted. So page 3 will look like this, and we'll need to get your high school information. So so the first question will ask about, are you earning any AP, IB, or dual credit from high school? And you can indicate that on the application. There is then a Find Your High School button to find all appropriate school information for your high school, or if you attended Texas Women's University or UNT or NCTC for dual credit college, you could also find those on the Find College or University button. Be sure that you're accurate with your dates of enrollment, and be sure you list all of your previous institutions. This is less of an issue with high school students not telling us about dual credit, and more of an issue of transfer students not telling us about prior schools they've attended. And one thing to note is, while you do have to tell us that you may have been taking dual credit elsewhere, dual credit transcripts are usually not required to make an admissions decision. So while we will ask for them, they often don't need to come in until after the student's been admitted.
I have a quick question.
Sure.
Okay, so I was filling out my application the other day, and I've taken dual credit before.
Yeah.
What is the grade you have to make in order to get the dual credit hours?
A D will transfer. So will it fulfill degree requirements? It depends upon the degree program you're going into. So like if you have just an example, say you have college algebra, you have a D in it, that will transfer. You'll get 3 hours of credit for college algebra, but it's not sufficient to get you into the next level of math. You would have to retake it and make it a C or better.
Okay, so just to make sure I understand this, a D and higher for any of those dual credit classes will transfer to the college, but you have to make the C and higher in order to get the high school credit.
Well, I can't speak with regards to high school credit. They would make that determination. But if a student submitted a transcript from a community college, we don't know it's dual credit or not. It is simply a community college transcript to us. And a D would count as 3 hours of credit. Now, it would be a 1.0, but it would apply in transfer to UNT and then would be up to the degree program advisors to determine if it could fit into the college degree. You would need to work with your high school counselor for questions on its application in your high school diploma.
Okay, thank you.
So educational background. So on this, so I will tell you for my institution, you do not have to fill out the senior course section on the educational information. We're going to require a high school transcript. It's going to include that information. It shows as optional on the system. So at least for us, you don't need to include it. But for some schools, they may want you to have it included. Now, once you do save it once, you can save it in the Apply Texas website and continually copy and reuse this information for subsequent applications. But always check with the school. If it's not necessary, you don't need to submit it. Again, as long as the system will allow you to go through to the next page, you've submitted enough information. Test scores, again, we understand that many students will not have had test scores. What I would advise students to do, always check with the schools you're applying to. At North Texas for fall of 2021, while we are test optional, I tell students, send us any tests that you have. At least our philosophy at North Texas is we're not going to use a test score to say no to a student. Now, we may be able to use that test score to award scholarships and to provide admissions, but if the score does not meet our normal requirements, we will still rely upon GPA alone to make an admissions determination. So at least with regards to UNT, send us every test score. Other schools, you may want to ask how their test optional process really works. So page 6 will have some pretty confusing questions, and it is in regards to residency. Now, again, it is important that students are answering this from the applicant's perspective, not from the parent's perspective. Questions will vary in the application based upon how students answer. The first question is going to ask if you have attended a public high school in the past 12 months. Now, a lot of times, students in high school that are in dual credit will say, yes, I attended a public college. And while that might be the case, you attended as a dual credit student. So really, I would generally advise students say no to this question if they had just attended a college as a dual credit student. The reason why is as a dual credit student, we can't determine you're an in-state resident based upon dual credit enrollment. We would have to reevaluate the status. Regardless of what that residency status is determined based upon how you answer these questions, the system will assign an in-state or out-of-state determination. This initial determination will not impact your admissions, will not impact eligibility for scholarships. But if you are listed as an out-of-state student, you'll certainly want to contact us and determine what steps you have to take to be reevaluated to receive that in-state residency. Again, read these questions very carefully, answer them very carefully. But if there are any issues, we'll always be able to take a look at it again after you're admitted. So on the extracurricular activity and volunteer activities of page 7, often students will send a resume to us in lieu of filling this section out. Honestly, this section, you may want to check with the school you're applying to. Some schools may use this quite a bit with regards to scholarship consideration. Other schools may not as much. But when you are filling it out, really what we're wanting to do is not just determine how many organizations you worked with when you were in high school. We want to know the quality of the time that you spent with that organization. So again, it's not just having a laundry list of activities, but having a list of extracurricular and volunteer activities which really showed that you put effort into and got something back out of it, not just that you were a member of an institution or a member of a program. So employment info, so students can certainly include any employment internships or summer activities. Again, if you do include this on a resume and you send that, in many instances, you could avoid having to fill out this information. As it is optional, it really won't necessarily be reviewed in all instances. So page 9 will include a series of custom questions, acknowledgments, and verifications. These will vary by institution a little bit. It's important that you carefully read each of these verifications and acknowledgments as you will be expected to understand the information that you are submitting and the results of any omissions or misstatements in your application. So essays, on the essay section, you may be able to submit an essay electronically on the Apply Texas system. You can certainly compose your essay using another medium and then just copy and paste it into the essay topic, and this would be forwarded to the institution along with your application. You also have the opportunity of sending the essay separately after you've applied. Essays may be optional, so contact each school to determine how necessary is it for that essay to be sent. Right now, UNT, we are using essay topic B, but my recommendation officially is if an essay is really going to be important, we're going to ask for it after you've applied. So certainly you're more than welcome to submit it on the front end, but if it's going to help make an admissions decision on your behalf, we will ask for it before making that decision. So you can submit the essay. Once that is submitted, you will need to make certification and payment information. So you have to have verified your email address. There is an email verification email that's sent to you. So that does have to be verified before payment can be submitted. We do encourage students that are paying the fee to pay by credit card online. This is certainly the quickest way for us to receive and process the payment along with the application. If you are requesting a fee waiver, if the schools are accepting fee waivers, find out what documents you have to submit along with your application. So you can request a fee waiver on your application. That application will be transferred over, but with respect to UNT, we will not start evaluating it. We will not activate it until we get documentation showing the student was eligible for the fee waiver. There are a number of different options for fee waivers, so certainly talk to the admissions officer for the school you're applying to find out what can be accepted. Be sure you confirm all the information. You cannot change the application after submission, so be sure you send the essay before you submit the application. But once you've completed your application fee payment by credit card or requested the fee waiver, you will be able to click the Submit Application Now button. When you do that, you will be able to go back to your account dashboard, and it's very important. Then on your application system, you see it says Submit It. Very often students will save it through page 10 And there's that additional payment certification steps that have to be done, but students haven't done that. So the application was never submitted. It was just sitting, waiting for that to be sent. Now, probably within a day or two after you submit the application, this status will be changed to transmitted. And so that means it's actually been sent to the school. Every school is going to be a little different with processing times. At UNT right now, if you apply to us, probably within about 3 to 5 business days, we'll work the application fee or fee waiver documents, and we'll send students their login information for My UNT. And that's the portal system students can use to look at North Texas status, but every school is going to have a similar application system that students will have access to, and have an email address likely that'll be set up. So for any schools you're applying to, be sure to keep an eye out for this type of information, and be sure to check those institutions' portals to see if anything else is needed. So I think an important thing that students should have also for every school is a list of important dates with regards to admissions, financial aid, scholarships. I just kind of put this together for UNT, but I think having a list of these dates for other schools would be very important. And finally, if you have any questions for me, please don't hesitate to contact me. Email address, peacock@unt.edu. You don't even have to put the Jason in there. But if you have questions about this presentation, or if you have questions as an interested prospective student to attend UNT, please don't hesitate to reach out to me. I'd certainly look forward to working with you. But if there are any other questions that I can help with, I'd be more than happy to field any if anyone has some. Well, I guess not. I'll go ahead and pop my email in the chat once again, just so you all can grab that and let me know if you have any questions. Is there a length requirement? So Jordan, really what I recommend, if an essay is really going to be important, we're going to tell you to send us an essay, and we're going to give you a prompt that I think is a little bit better than what just the SAB is. So really, Jordan, I'd recommend just get the application into us, get the application fee. My hope is we're going to be able to admit you based upon your academic record. And if we can't admit you based on your academic record, then we can talk about how much an essay is going to help. So always, again, I'm the admissions officer for Denton ISD, so let me know, and I can tell you exactly what the best recommendation is for you, Jordan. Emma, application fee. So if you have already submitted the application and you need to remit the application fee payment, I'm going to type an email address in. This is our department which handles application fee processing. If you contact them, they can either schedule to call you back and take credit card information over the phone, or they can give you information on where you can mail a check, cashier's check, or money order to get that paid. See, for fall of 2021 admissions, do you need to apply by December 1st? So Michelle, really, I would recommend December 1st. So our admissions priority date isn't until March 1st of 2021, but our financial aid priority date is January 15. So on January 15, we're going to look to see who has been admitted to UNT. We're going to look to see who has submitted all their financial aid information to UNT. And it's a first come, first serve process for financial aid starting January 15th. So really, that is the date where students not only need to be admitted by, but also have financial aid in. I would advise students with regards to North Texas, at least, get your application in now, get admissions finished, hopefully by Thanksgiving, so you can get the rest of your financial aid in well before that January 15th deadline. So for fall, I think that was the same one. Any other questions? So Michelle, you right now, normally we turn our scholarship application on in October. We have not activated it yet. Right now, we still say that tests are required for scholarship eligibility, but I think one of the reasons why they are holding that scholarship application is they're trying to determine eligibility for students without SAT, ACT scores. So that hasn't been made official yet. At this point in time, though, because the scholarship application is not open, you don't need to worry about applying for it yet. And March 1st really is the scholarship deadline. So as long as you're admitted by February 1st and you have the scholarship application in by March 1st, you should be considered for scholarship funds based on your academic record. Well, thank you, Matt. Well, certainly, hopefully you'll be able to work on those Apply Texas applications and get them out there. Really, don't wait. I know a lot of students look at deadlines and they kind of think of it as a challenge. Don't think of it as a challenge. Get it in a month before, 2 months before. Being proactive is not just the key to success of getting into college, but it's the key to being successful when you're in college. Don't wait till the last date to do things, get them done early. That's only going to benefit you in a wide range of areas. Any other questions that I can help with today? All right, guys. Well, thanks so much for your attention. I'm going to throw back up my contact information on the screen once more. So if you have got to have a phone or you can do a screen print. Feel free to contact me if you guys have any questions. Absolutely look forward to working with you and go Mean Green.
Thank you, Jason. Oh, you have one more question.
Oh, excellent. Let's see.
He was asking about other schools too.
You would always want to check with the school. Really, we read the essay if it's an appeal situation. So it's real. We only read it if we have questions about a student's academic eligibility, but other schools may certainly use it for scholarship determination, and it may play a more important factor in their holistic evaluation process. But for us, I'd say don't worry about it. One more come in. We're doing campus tours today, Michelle. So I'm actually in the Welcome Center welcoming students and their families on campus. So if you go to tours.unt.edu, you'll see our availability. We do host small tours, so they do fill up pretty quickly, but we'd love to see you on campus. Definitely email me to let me know you're coming. I'd love to meet.
Yes, we are going to have this slideshow. Jason has been recording it, and once he gets me the recording, I will post it on the website so you can review it again if you'd like to.
Speaking of which,